Parshas Eikev, when compared to the other parshios in the book of Devarim, has exceptionally few mitzvos. Many of the parshios are full with many of the mitzvos of the Torah. Parshas Eikev only contains 5 or 6 references to mitzvot and is mostly an exposition of a philosophical approach that Moshe wants to present to the Jewish people before they come into Eretz Israel. Moreover, the mitzvos that are chosen to be mentioned in this parsha are all very fundamental philosophical belief-based mitzvos. The mitzvah to show love to the stranger, the mitzvah not to do idolatry, to love God, to pray to God, and to be honest are the mitzvos, are the rituals that are referenced in this parsha. And then there's one mitzvah that seems very ordinary in a way, which is the mitzvah of Birchat HaMazon, v'achalta v'savata u'beirachta et Hashem Elokecha. That when we eat and we're satiated, we should bench and thank God for the food that we have. And we often think about Birchat HaMazon as a cute song that's taught to lower grades, but don't always think about it as a philosophical cornerstone of religion and of philosophy. But of course, when you think about it, it's much more fundamental than it might seem at first. The idea of gratitude and appreciating where we got that which we have, and recognizing that although we might attribute our wealth to our own actions, in reality, we have to be thankful to those who provided it for us. And it's much more difficult, but I think it's even more philosophically fundamental than we might think at first when we dig a little deeper. The Midrash cited in Maseches Brachos says a very fascinating thing about Birkat HaMazon. It says that a question was posed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to God, asking why it is that he favors the Jewish people. What happened to the value of equality? Why is God so gracious to the Jewish people? And even our parsha alludes to the fact that Hashem is more gracious to us than we deserve, because we failed him when we complained about the man, we failed him when we sinned at the golden calf, and yet God still forgave us and gave us the gifts that he gave us. And the Midrash responds that God said that they actually earned special favor, because what is it that they've done? They've taken Birkat HaMazon to the next level, because I only told them, v'achalta v'savata u'beirachta, that when you eat and you're satisfied, you should bless God. And how much do you need to eat to be considered to be satisfied? A meal's worth of food. Maybe it's the volume of an egg, of bread, something like a sandwich, which would fully satiate you. But what did the Jewish people do? They took it upon themselves to legislate a rabbinic decree that even if you eat the volume of an olive, you'll still say Birkat HaMazon. And that's what the Jewish people do. Even if they eat a small piece of bread, they still say Birkat HaMazon. Wow. The Jewish people are so great, and therefore they deserve all the graciousness that I've given to them, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And some of the Mefarshim are bothered by this response. It seems like a very ordinary thing that we say Birkat HaMazon in a few more circumstances than actually required by the Torah. Why is this more special than other rituals that we do? And one of the Mefarshim, Rav Gutmacher, who has a small commentary published in the back of Masechet Brachot, suggests something very profound, which is that when Hashem shows appreciation for the fact that we bench for Kazayit, he's not saying, wow, these Jews are so great that even if they have a half a piece of pizza as a snack, they'll still say Birkat HaMazon. What Hashem is referring to is the Jewish people in the circumstances when they only have a small amount of bread to eat and they have no more, because we don't have money or we don't have access and we're starving, and all we have as our full meal is an olive's worth of food. And nevertheless, the Jewish people say Birkat Hamazon with their heart, expressing appreciation for that which we have, even though that which we don't have may be much more than that which we do have. And this idea of expressing appreciation for that which we have, even when we legitimately could be complaining that we would want to have much more, is an incredible value of appreciation. And for that, Hashem says the Jewish people deserve my favor. I think we could take it even another step further, because there's something that's even harder, or also hard, about expressing appreciation, which is not only when we don't have what we want, but sometimes we don't know what's coming next. And the Torah itself alludes to this in the description of Birkat Hamazon when describing the man, and it says that the man that I've given you was a test for you. And the man was something Asher lo yida'un avotecha, that your forefathers didn't know about. Why does that matter? Because we didn't have past experience to understand how man worked and what was coming next. And one of the special mitzvot of the man is that we can't take extra man for tomorrow, which means that each day we had to have faith and trust in Hashem. And we didn't really know. Maybe the man only fell in certain places, and now we're traveling. Will we get man there? What if I get hungry later? What's going to happen? What's going to happen next? We didn't know. All we knew is to have faith and trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that was also a challenge related to the food that we eat and the Birkat Hamazon that we say. This reminds me of a very interesting discussion between Hillel and Shammai. We'll call it a debate, a discussion, where Shammai said that everything I have is for Kavod Shabbos. The first thing I find during the week, I would save it for Shabbos, he said. The second thing that I find, well, if it was better than the first, I would then eat the first and save the second one for Shabbos. If I find even a better item of food, I save the new one for Shabbos and eat the old one. Everything I did, I was always thinking about the Shabbos to come. And Hillel, Chazal tell us, had a different approach. Whatever Hillel found, he ate that day, and he said, Baruch Hashem, he cited the pasuk, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. This is what Hashem is giving me for today, and tomorrow I'll hope for something else. And Hillel, not only are Hillel and Shammai discussing different approaches to their preparations for Shabbos, but Hillel and Shammai are also referencing different approaches to life and finances and faith. Because Shammai, even though everything he did was for Kavod Shabbos, he also always made sure that he had something in his back pocket for next time. And perhaps if tomorrow Shammai wouldn't find anything, he'd have what he saved from yesterday. And Hillel had so much faith in the unknown that was to come that Hillel would worry about today, and tomorrow. We know that Hillel lived this way. Hillel was actually very poor, and he worked as a lumberjack. And each day he would earn a small wage. Half of it he'd use to buy food for the day, and half of it he'd use to pay his tuition to go to study in the Beit Midrash. And this was Hillel. Hillel not only learned and demonstrated how to be appreciative for what he had, although he had so little, but Hillel also was a model in how to live with uncertainty and how to feel confident and secure even when there's so much uncertainty to come. And this difference between Hillel and Shammai is not always a choice that we're given to make. Sometimes we just don't know our future, regardless of whether we prefer to save for tomorrow or not. And I think that just as an example, we experienced that this week, where every moment of our days in blackout, we're thinking, my plan for the next hour is X if I don't have power, and Y if I do have power. And always living with this uncertainty. And if we just knew what was coming, it would be much easier psychologically to prepare ourselves and to cope with it. But living with uncertainty is a unique challenge that we experience, that we're familiar with, and that we think about really all the time in the times of pandemic. Living with uncertainty and making contingency plans are very, very difficult. But I think that Hillel is a model for us that not only are we striving to be appreciative for that which we have when we want more, but also to focus on the constants of our lives, the things that are important, on our family, on our studies, on our religious growth, and to try to stomach uncertainties, even though it is so difficult. And I think that all of this is captured in the Torah's presentation of Birkat HaMazon, which is very important for children to learn to sing in their youth, but also important for us to internalize the meaning as we get older, that when we have achieved some level of wealth, to recognize that God had a hand in granting it to us, even though we worked hard, to be appreciative for that which we have, even when it falls short of what we would really hope for, and to also stomach the uncertainties and to build our faith during times of uncertainty, and to focus ourselves on our core values and goals throughout those challenges. Best wishes for a good Shabbos.